This nurse was called an angel, but she was hiding the most insane secret imaginable. To her coworkers, she was the best nurse ever, always taking extra shifts and caring for the sickest babies. But to the families she destroyed, she was a monster. This is the unbelievable story of the nurse they called an angel, and the horrifying secret she hid in plain sight. In a hospital's neonatal unit, you have to trust the nurses. It's a place where tiny, fragile lives are on the line, and parents put their entire world into the hands of these professionals. It's the ultimate act of faith. But what happens when that trust is completely shattered? What happens when the person supposed to save lives decides to end them instead? This is the insane story of Lucy Letby. It's about a dark pattern that nobody could explain, happening in the one place families should feel safest. But this is bigger than just one person. This is about hospital bosses who were told again and again that a nurse was killing babies, and they did absolutely nothing to stop her. This is a story about a system that failed everyone. So how did a nurse everyone called kind and professional become the biggest child killer in modern British history? And how did she get away with it for so long? To understand how crazy this is, you have to see the perfect image Lucy Letby created. She seemed totally normal. She was the first person in her family to go to college and got a degree in nursing. Her passion was caring for sick and premature babies. She landed her dream job in the neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Her colleagues said she was an amazing, hard-working nurse. She was always cheerful and ready to help. Parents remembered her being so kind. She would even take photos of their babies to help them make memories. She was the perfect nurse. On paper, she was a model employee. She was friends with everyone and even organized parties for the staff. She fit right in. But here is where it gets terrifying. Letby always volunteered for extra shifts, and she always put herself with the most vulnerable, sickest babies. Looking back, her interest in them was deeply disturbing. Her entire life was about the hospital. Police later found text messages and social media searches that showed she was obsessed with the families of the babies she cared for, even searching for them long after their baby had died. This was the angel everyone thought they knew. One of the head doctors later said he couldn't believe nice Lucy could be responsible for something so horrible. Her disguise as a sweet, caring nurse was her ultimate weapon. It made the truth seem impossible. The idea that a nurse would kill babies is so evil, most people can't even imagine it. And for over a year, that let a monster walk the halls of a hospital, dressed like a hero. The year 2015 started out totally normal. But that summer, things turned into a real-life horror movie. Perfectly healthy babies, or babies who were getting better, suddenly started collapsing for no reason. The death rate on the unit, which had been stable for years, went through the roof. It started in June. Boom. On the 8th, a baby boy who was stable died just 90 minutes after Letby started her shift. He died from an injection of air. Less than a day later, his twin sister had the exact same collapse. Letby was on duty again. This time, the baby girl survived. Less than a week later, another baby boy died. He was doing fine, but Letby was seen standing by his incubator right as his alarms went off, even though he wasn't her patient. Just a week after that, another baby girl was murdered in the same way. In just 2 weeks, 3 babies were dead. This was the beginning of the pattern. A sudden, catastrophic collapse. A weird mottling pattern on the baby's skin that would appear and then vanish. And one common denominator, Lucy Letby. She was there. Every single time. For a full year, from June 2015 to June 2016, she went on an absolute rampage. She attacked babies by injecting them with air, overfeeding them with milk, or poisoning them with insulin. She murdered one baby, Child E, with an air embolism, and his own mother walked in on the attack. Letby just looked at her and said, "Trust me, I'm a nurse." Can you even believe that? She poisoned another baby, Child F, with insulin she slipped into his feeding bag. This was an evil and genius move, because doctors would never think to test a newborn for that. It became the smoking gun for the police. One of the most heartbreaking cases involved a baby girl, Child G. Letby tried to murder her 3 separate times. The baby survived, but the attacks left her with permanent, severe disabilities. Then came the triplets. She murdered 2 of the 3 brothers, Child O and Child P, within 24 hours of each other. After she murdered the first brother, The devastated parents brought his surviving brothers to see him one last time. Letby allegedly said, "You've said your goodbyes. Do you want me to put him back in his cot?" Then she went and murdered the second brother. She used her medical training to kill, tricking everyone into thinking the babies died from natural causes. For 12 months, the neonatal unit was her personal hunting ground. The staff started to dread the sound of the alarms. They were living in a nightmare, and they had no idea the cause was one of their own. Okay, this is where the story gets truly unbelievable. The senior doctors on the unit weren't stupid. They started connecting the dots. The lead doctor, Dr. Stephen Breyer, was the first to sound the alarm. He literally reviewed the cases and realized the one terrifying connection. Lucy Letby was on duty for every single death and collapse. Other doctors saw it too. They were terrified. The link was always the same nurse. So in October 2015, the doctors went to the hospital executives and told them, "We think a nurse is killing babies." And what did the hospital do? Absolutely nothing. The hospital bosses cared more about their reputation than saving lives. They told the doctors to stop making a fuss. They suggested the deaths were just bad luck, or maybe even a plumbing problem. A plumbing problem. All while Letby kept on working. The doctors kept fighting. In February 2016, they had more meetings, begging the executives to do something. But management told them there was no evidence. And then, in a move that is absolutely shocking, they suggested the doctors were the problem, just a gang of men picking on a young nurse. The hospital then forced the hero doctors to write a formal apology letter to Lucy Letby. They apologized to the killer. One of the most chilling moments came from Dr. Jairam. He testified that he walked in to find a baby girl's oxygen levels crashing while Letby just stood there, doing nothing. The alarms weren't even on. He jumped in and saved the child's life. But he admitted he was afraid to report it because he feared the managers who had ignored all their other warnings would punish him. The hospital was bullying its own doctors into silence. Meanwhile, more babies were attacked. Dr. Jairam later said he believes 4 or 5 babies could have been saved if the managers had just listened and called the police. It wasn't until June 2016, after she murdered the 2 triplets, that the doctors finally put their foot down. They refused to work unless Letby was gone. Only then, a full year after the first warnings, was Letby finally removed from the unit. But they didn't suspend her. They gave her a desk job in the patient safety office, where she had access to sensitive files. It took another full year before the hospital finally called the police. When the police finally got the call, they launched a massive investigation called Operation Hummingbird. It was one of the most complex investigations in British history. And every single clue pointed to one name, Lucy Letby. On July 3, 2018, nearly 2 years after she was taken off the ward, she was finally arrested. Police searched her house, and what they found is beyond insane. She had stolen over 250 confidential nursing documents and medical records from the hospital. Many were for the exact babies she was accused of attacking. When they asked her why, she said she was a collector of paper and forgot to shred them. But guess what? The police found a shredder in her house. But that's not even the craziest part. They found her secret notes. Scrawled on a green post-it, police found a direct confession written in all caps, "I am evil, I did this." On another part of the same note, she wrote, "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them and I am a horrible, evil person." The police also discovered her ghoulish behavior. She was repeatedly searching for the parents of her victims on Facebook, sometimes just hours after murdering their child. She even sent a sympathy card to the parents of one baby she murdered, and took a picture of the card on her phone like a sick souvenir. After all of this, she was arrested and released on bail. Then arrested again and bailed again. Finally, on November 10, 2020, she was arrested for a 3rd time and charged with murder and attempted murder. She pleaded not guilty to everything. The angel's mask was about to come off in court. The trial of Lucy Letby started in October 2022 and was absolutely massive. It lasted for 10 grueling months, and the jury was shown a mountain of horrifying evidence. The prosecution said Letby was a cunning and calculated killer who weaponized her nursing skills. Their case was built on three main things. First, the statistics were impossible. Every single time a baby collapsed or died, Lucy Letby was on shift. When she went on vacation, the deaths and collapses completely stopped. That is not a coincidence. Experts proved that babies had been injected with air, which is enough to kill them. And for the insulin poisonings, they had a smoking gun. Blood tests from 2 babies showed insane levels of synthetic insulin that was never prescribed to them. And third, her own behavior and the things found in her home. The jury saw her handwritten, "I am evil, I did this" note. They heard about how she stalked the grieving families on Facebook. The evidence was just overwhelming. But then, Lucy Letby took the stand and started crying, claiming she was just a scapegoat for a failing hospital. She denied everything, insisting, "I only ever did my best to care for them." She even tried to blame the deaths on the hero doctors who had tried to expose her. For 10 months, the jury listened to the most horrible details imaginable. They heard from parents who had to relive their worst nightmares. They were asked to look at this normal professional nurse and decide if she was capable of being a monster. On August 18, 2023, after deliberating for 22 days, the jury came back. Guilty. Guilty of murdering 7 babies. Guilty of trying to murder 6 others. In that instant, she officially became the most prolific child serial killer in modern UK history. And get this, she was too cowardly to even show up to court for her own sentencing. In her absence, the judge gave her a whole life order, the most serious sentence possible. It means she will die in prison, with 0 chance of parole. The judge called her actions a cruel, calculated, and cynical campaign of child murder, and said she showed a malevolence bordering on sadism. In July 2024, she was found guilty again in a retrial for trying to murder another baby, and got another whole life order. But the story isn't over. The focus immediately turned on the hospital. How could this happen? The managers who ignored the doctors are now under a massive government investigation. And the police think it's possible Letby harmed even more babies earlier in her career at different hospitals. The Lucy Letby case is a horrifying story that shattered the trust we place in healthcare workers. It exposed a system where bosses protected their reputation instead of protecting babies. And it left behind a trail of devastated families who now know that the person supposed to save their child was actually their killer. The story of Lucy Letby is a chilling reminder that evil can wear the most normal-looking mask. It forces us to ask, how do we make sure that when whistleblowers speak up, they are actually listened to? How do we make sure patient safety always comes before reputation? This isn't the first time a healthcare worker became a killer. People like Beverly Alit and Harold Shipman did it too, and every time, we ask if they could have been stopped sooner. What do you think needs to change to stop this from ever happening again? Should the hospital managers who ignored the warnings be held accountable? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story unbelievable and want to see more true crime cases, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thank you for watching.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more gripping true crime breakdowns, mysteries, and criminal psychology stories, only on Twisted Case.